Welcome to Bay Rats and Buoys Season 2 with your host, Captain Gaige.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. I'm your host, Captain Gaige. This is episode number 58, Season 2 from the studio, brought to you in part by Nautical School. Visit nauticalschool.com and get your captain's license this time of the year. There's no better time, guys, than to register for those classes and get in now. So in the springtime, you're ready to go and you are a licensed captain. So head on over to nauticalschool.com and register now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Can't believe another week has gone by. I have been so busy with the boat doing stuff. We were out on the water yesterday, and it felt good to be back out there yesterday. It was nice and warm in the sun, but I got to tell you, it was chilly. It was definitely a little chilly out there. I had to take Kory over to his boat, and his dad's got a 27-foot sailfish that he keeps on a mooring in Northport Bay, and I had to go out there, take him out to the boat, and follow him back to the ramp, make sure both his engines are running, and then he got back there safely, and then take him back with me to the truck, So, that's what we do. I told you, if anybody needs help getting their boat out, give us a holler. We'll be happy to help you. But, yeah, we are a week away from Thanksgiving. I mean, it's here. That's it. First is Thanksgiving, then it's Christmas and New Year's, and before you know it, we're at the boat show, and then we're at the fishing shows, and we're putting the boat back in the water. So, lots going on. And last week, right after I hit end record on the camera, Jacob sent me a cool message with a video from out in the Peconic Bay. He was actually in Mexico, and he said the albies were blitzing in his farm, in the oyster farm out in the Peconic. And he sent me a cool little clip, little video of the birds working and the craziness that's going on. And he got in on the action. His buddy was filming, so he sent me a clip from the back of the boat to show me all the birds. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what's going on here, And even yesterday, we got out into the bay. We're heading towards Kory's boat, and, right in front of us, there's 50 birds working. And Kory's like, how are we out here without a rod? Because I took him, I went over there on the towboat. And I was like, bro, there's nothing happening. Watch. Let's drive right into it and stop the boat in that area and see what's under these birds. See what's there. It was all small stuff, nothing crazy. But I will say this. When I took him over to the ramp over at Hobart Beach, I'll put it up on the screen here. There was some real nice fish in there. So this is an area, that in the back bays that I keep telling you about. And, Greg knows he was there. He was not too far away. I said he was getting them on the NLBNs. And then he switched over and he was trolling the Mojos, which then I recommended to go get the mini Mojos. And, there were big fish. There were some nice marks, really nice marks. Nothing like what we were seeing under the birds. Under the birds, we were seeing small schoolies and stuff. And a lot of bait. Again, you see a lot of bait. You see the other birds, the cormorants, pushing up the bait, and the birds are working from above and below. And you'll get that a lot. So if you don't see tails splashing a lot of times, it doesn't mean that you're going to get onto fish just casting out into that. So water temperature was 43. The coldest we saw it yesterday was 43 degrees. Which was pretty chilly, but it's crystal clear. I mean, you look down, it's gin clear. You look down to the bottom in 15 feet of water. So it's, I love this time of the year. Same thing in the springtime. Get out there and do a little snorkeling around, see if we could do some free diving and catch fish in the shallow water. However, the tog fishing in our area has been lights out. Everybody's been, Chris and his wife, Lisa, they've been out. They've been killing it. Crushing it, and nobody, even talking to Undy at my dock yesterday, I was down at the marina, and so I said, last year he called me over, he's like, yo, you got a scale I can borrow? And on my boat, I got this really, really nice digital scale, and I brought it over to his boat to weigh the fish, and I asked him when I saw him yesterday, I said, how many 10-pounders? And he said, none. Everything has been 8 and 9 pounds. He said there was a few big fish that broke off. They're fishing in 18 feet of water and they're, above a 12-foot rock, and that line hits the rock and forget about it. They're gone. So these fish know how to get off. They know how to take the green crab and they know how to get off the line. It's unbelievable. So I haven't heard a lot about any double-digit tog in our area, but now's the time of the season when they're going to head off into deeper waters. So he said the deepest he went was 18 feet, but predominantly fishing in a 12 to 18 foot. And Kory and Charles were out yesterday and the day before, and they were catching keepers in 6 feet of water. So you didn't have to be in the deep water to get them. And in 6 feet of water, you can see them. You can see right where you are. You can see the rocks. You can see everything. And at this time of the year, so it's chin clear. That's what I love about it. Really cool. So right after last week, I said when I hit stop on the button, I heard from Jacob. I also got a call from the DEC. The minute I stopped this, it was like everything happened. And we had a nice long talk talking about, regulations and certain things. And, some people in our area that got caught poaching, keeping over-slot bass. And, it's always fun to hear the stories of how people get caught and, what happens. But I say it all the time on the podcast. Why? Just like, why? You can't go to the fish market and buy some fish? You can't let them go and replenish the stock of fish? Or you just believe that the discard mortality rate is at such a number that you've hooked this fish and now you let it go, it's going to die, so you might as well take it home and keep it or sell it or whatever you're doing with it, because I don't know what you're doing with it, but why you're keeping 4 or 5 over slots is way beyond me. I have no idea why you would do that, but to each his own. I am not one of those guys. I like to tag them and release them and let them go. I really don't kill a lot of fish. And I don't eat a lot of fish. Doesn't mean I'm not going to J&M Seafood to get the best and the freshest, because the staff over there is absolutely awesome. And you guys remember J&M Seafood was the sponsor of our tournaments on the back. I got the tournament shirt underneath too, so that's, I remember, I knew I saw the tournament logo this morning. I have it on underneath. Got my favorite tournament shirt. You guys know that. It's the most comfortable shirt in the world. But yeah, the guys over at J&M Seafood are absolutely awesome. So if you do need fish and you need to buy it, that's where you should go. If you can't catch the ones that you're allowed to keep and you want to buy fish, head on over to J&M Seafood. They just opened up a new place in East Setauket. Say hello to Rich. Say what's up to Matt. Say what's up to Cody and Angelo. And let everybody know that Captain Gaige sent you from Bay Rats and Buoys. They'll be happy to hear that, and they'll be happy to see you. So they also have a place in East Northport, right on Pulaski and Larkfield Road, right behind the convenience store that's there on the corner. So, heard from Jacob. He said the water, so basically he said the water temp was 43 degrees out there, which is what we saw it at yesterday. The week prior, it was a little bit warmer. But it was cold out there yesterday. My hands were cold. I just went out there in sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and I had taken everything. I worked real hard yesterday, taking everything off the boat. So Kory did a phenomenal job power washing the bottom of the boat. And, the transom and the platform and the trim tabs and everything. We really detailed the whole bottom as far as she's ready for the bottom paint. So yesterday I took everything off the boat. I like to bring it into the shop and get it all organized and replace hooks and get everything all fixed. So now I have a few months to go through it all and make sure everything's ready to go for April. So I spent all day doing that. Even this morning, I jumped on the boat, and I wanted to clean up the bilge area because I'm taking the bilge out, and I'll be putting a new bilge in the springtime. So I really wanted to clean up back there, and I did. So I also ran special gasoline to winterize the boat through the engine, so I took the fuel line off the gas water separator where it goes to the engine and put that into the can and ran that gas through the engine to winterize it. Because if you put the stable in, if you put the fuel stabilizer in your gas tank and you don't drive the boat around and run that stabilizer through the engine, I think it's much better to run the gas directly into the engine. So that's what I did. That was yesterday's project. And, we still have a few days where it's going to be in the 50s. We have a day, I think I saw where it was going to be 60 degrees. But the boat's covered. It's got a tarp on it. Because I go on and off it all the time. I'll be up there detailing it. Everything is off. Everything's getting fixed, cleaned, whatever. And I'll even be up there detailing it and cleaning it. And I detailed the console yesterday. And that's what I do this time of the year. Spend an hour or two up there and get it clean. Like a real deep clean, legit. So in the springtime, I can have one of the guys come and wheel it out and make it nice and shiny. Paint the bottom, and splash down. So I also like to head over to Compass Rose in Huntington, and I stock up on all my Yamaha parts. So I buy everything. I try to buy all Yamalube, whether it be the Yamalube spray and the Yamalube oil. For the lower unit, we replaced that and flushed it out with fresh water. And today, I got in there with Dawn and brushes and really cleaned out the transom where the bilges. So, it looks it looks pretty clean back. I was pretty impressed at how clean it was. And next project is I'm going to pull the bilge out and the float switch and replace all that. Because last year I did oil lines, gas lines, you name it. Every year I like to put something new. It's got to be. This year it was the Simrad. And last year we did the fuel lines with the prime ball, and we did all kinds of new stuff. Every year I do some new things, trying to avoid any of those mechanical breakdowns where things go wrong. And listen, things are going to happen. I put the water pump on every year. But again, spun the hub, stretched the cable. It's going to happen. Things happen. So we try to minimize that. And I thought I was not going to have any issues with a stretched cable. I actually had a faulty cable. And because the cable that I had was the right cable, it was a good cable, a good brand, and it was supposed to last. And I don't buy cheap stuff. I'm not looking to cut corners. I want to put good stuff on the boat and know that everything's, done right. So this time of the year, I'm cleaning and fixing as much as I can, just like Frank. Frank, you brought up a good point on the YouTube comment where you said you're not at the mercy of the marina because your boat is just a few minutes from the ramp. You're on the trailer. You see a good window, weather for the window and head out, and that's great. So I'm not at the mercy of the marina. I take the boat out if I wanted to go put it back in and go hit Jersey or Raritan Bay or go anywhere. It's on a trailer. I could take it and go. So when we pull it out, we pull it out. We're donezo. So I've trailered boats before, and it's just, for me, it's just a lot of work. When I have it at a dock, I jump down and get on, go out for 2 hours, come back, and I don't have to do that whole prep. So I understand both sides to the being a marina. Yeah, you got to be out by, mid-November. Keep it on a trailer. If it's 60 degrees this week, well, guess what? We can go on the Robalo. Just kidding. I'm good. Kory's hitting Montauk this weekend. They're going to do some tog fishing. They're going to go charter, jump on a charter and get out there. Or actually, I think they're jumping on somebody else's boat and going on Sunday. So I will probably hit the South Shore. This time of the year, I'll jump on boats like the Laura Lee and get out there on the bass. And speaking of the bass, Manny sent another video hooking in. Now, he was on the cover of last week's podcast. So you have to put the thumbnail up on YouTube. So I shot him a picture saying, hey, are you okay with this? You know what I mean? I always ask, if I'm using your picture, I'm going to ask you if you're okay with the final product and say, hey, yeah, I could use it. I'm going to ask permission to use the picture. And he was like, hell yeah. He wanted to know how I got rid of the background and whatnot. But, I've been doing that for years, and I'm sure now everybody has an app that, take the background out. But I didn't give away his secret spot. But I did want you to see that he had the NLBN in the bass's mouth. And the no live bait needed. I've recommended that to you guys a ton of times here on the podcast. See, I should be on the boat. It's in my head. I'm supposed to be sitting on the boat, not in the studio. And the NLBNs, somebody commented to me asking, what do I recommend to catch freshwater striped bass? And I got to say, I've never fished for striped bass in fresh water. Now, I've had guys charter my boat that came down from Pennsylvania, went out with one of the gentlemen that uses us like 3 or 4 times a season. And actually, he hooked into a really nice, I think it was like a 39-inch striped bass on the slim wave rod with a Black Max reel. And he was like, yo, I got the same reel. I love it, blah, blah, blah. So he knew how to fight the fish. And they catch up in Pennsylvania in the lakes striped bass. But those are those hybrid-looking ones with the hump on them. And to me, it's just, same fish, obviously. We joke around with Tommy. Tommy gave me a call last week, and Tommy, we have a joke about the 7 stripes. Every time he posts a picture with a fish, I'm like, how many stripes did it have? And we count the stripes on the side. And it was always 7 stripes. So maybe yours have more. Maybe 7's not the number. But if I remember correctly, it was 7 stripes. So I've never caught a freshwater striped bass. I like catching freshwater peacock bass. Those things hit like freight trains. Holy cow, that is a fun fish to catch. I think it's a beautiful fish, too. It really is. I like to catch those with my nephew down behind my place in Florida in the lake. And just different species. I love all that fun stuff. So we're going to hit the Connecticut River soon. I told Kory that I invited you guys out on the podcast. And if you guys want to meet up with us at Connecticut River, go get your freshwater fishing license and come join us. We'll be happy to see you there. I see Kevin. Kevin, you were showing me some of the flies you made there when I was new to the place. It was only like my 4th or 5th time. I was just getting addicted to it. And you'll see, if you come with us, you'll be like, holy cow, I didn't know this existed on Long Island. And some of you may know and know how cool it is and how much fun it is. It really is. So Kevin made his own, they were like crystal meth, if I'm not mistaken. They were crystal meth-looking flies that he was crushing. Every time he dropped one in, he had another fish on it. I was like, what are those? And he showed me the ones that he made. And that led to buying the vise. And I just brought in, I just saw my container filled with all the bucktail and everything required to make flies, which is just another level of insanity. It really is. Once you start tying your own flies and getting into that, it's like you will have no more spare time in your world. But I do it. I'll bang out one style, and I'll make like 100 of them. Like the Clouser minnow for the striped bass. I made a ton of them. I can hand them out in Halloween and still have a bunch left over. So if you want a Clouser minnow, I'll give you 1 or 2. No doubt. Great for the striped bass. But yeah, I never caught a striped bass in freshwater. So I thought that was a cool comment. Might have been on TikTok or Instagram because I am starting to put out a few 90-second reels of podcasts from the past. Obviously, we're on episode 58, so great podcast with Captain Mike from Nautical School. That was one of my favorites. I pinned that one up at the top of the YouTube channel. So if you head over to the YouTube channel at sandcitycharter.com, you'll see it's going to start to play right away once you get there. And you'll see Captain Mike and myself talking about the captain's school, his locations, and all the new laws and regulations and all the different things. I'm going to put out a short little reel of the drug consortiums. There's a big misconception about, like Kory's on my boat as a mate. Well, Kory has to be enrolled in a Sand City Drug Consortium. I have to be enrolled in the Sand City Drug Consortium. I work for a commercial tow company. I have to be enrolled in their drug consortium. If I worked on a tugboat as well, I'd have to be enrolled in their drug consortium. So it does, just because you have a captain's license and you're enrolled in a drug consortium and you go get a job as a captain on somebody else's boat and you think you're already enrolled in a drug consortium, it doesn't work like that. You got to be enrolled in a drug consortium for each company that you're working for. And we explain that to you in the podcast at the boat show. And I can't wait to get Captain Mike back on the podcast this year. Nautical School, him and his wife do a great job. They're really blowing that thing up since they took it over. And Kory actually went there. I did my renewal and my upgrade. I did a renewal and an upgrade through nauticalschool.com. So if you guys are in the market for a renewal or you're looking to do an upgrade, they designed and built an amazing portal that makes it so easy that you'll see what progress is being done, what papers they're waiting for, what's being worked on, what's in progress, what's completed. And it just really makes the whole process that much simpler. And I was grateful for how they simplified that crazy process. Because it's, anytime you're dealing with the Coast Guard, if you don't cross a T or dot one I, and the guy goes over your paperwork with a magnifying glass and sees that you didn't dot the I and cross the T, they kick it back. And I think I told you that I listened to that podcast not too long ago, like a couple weeks ago. And I think it was 57% of applications get rejected. And, that's just a crazy number. And I know somebody who went to captain school, went to get his license, and at the end didn't get it. So there's no guarantees. And once I talked about nautical school on the podcast, people started reaching out to me. Like Andrew was the first one saying, hey, I'm going to go take the online course. And I said, jump into the class. Trust me. It's something you want to do with an instructor. You really are. It's so much better in a classroom. It really is. I happen to be in an insane classroom with all the Fire Island, the Shelter Island Ferry, which other one is it? The Sayville Ferry, all those captains were in the class. We had an absolute blast in the class that I was in. It was so much fun. And even at the end, when you take all the exams and you're done with everything, putting all the paperwork together to send it in, it's all got to be in a specific order. And you don't want to screw it up because, like I said, 57% of the applications get rejected. So you want to deal with Captain Mike and Nautical School at nauticalschool.com because they're going to help you do it right. And now they could even fast track stuff. I know that, you can get it in. Kory got his a lot faster than I got mine. I'll put it to you that way. And I was impressed at how fast he was able to obtain it and get the physical copy. And I think a lot of that has to do with the new process for printing out the actual captain's license. Now, here's a kicker. I thought this was pretty funny. Nowhere on your captain's license does it say that you are a captain. It does not. It is Merchant Mariner's credential, and it does not say on there captain's license anywhere. You pull out your driver's license, hand to the cop, it says driver's license. But your captain's license does not say captain on it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. However, the new process of printing it out, anybody that has the old passport, I have the passport style book, and you loved getting that because that was like a legit credential. That's like your passport. It's very cool. Now it's a single sheet of paper that we talked about. It's waterproof. It's supposed to be, you can't rip and tear. And I think we debunked all those myths on the podcast with Captain Mike from Nautical School. So head over to the YouTube channel at sandcitycharter.com. It is pinned up at the top, and check that out. It's a very interesting podcast, and I can't wait to have him on as a guest at the boat show, which is just 2 months away. Kory's power washing the bottom of the boat, and I'm like, dude, can you believe it's 2 months we're going to be at the boat show? That's crazy. So, we're a week away from Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I will be putting the podcast up early. I will have it up Wednesday next week, for sure. Because my radios got moved. Everything got moved to Tuesday. In fact, I'll be doing the radio shows on Tuesday. And then Tuesday night, I have the ISM podcast over at Oheka Castle from 6 to 9. And there's a dress code there. It's a little different than, just showing up. But if you're interested in making it to one of the ISM executive networking events, hit me up, and I will get you an invite to it, and come check it out. Only a few people get to actually sit down with me and get on the podcast at Oheka Castle because of the time constraints and how many people we can fit in the time frame. So, just putting that out there on the Bay Rats and Buoys podcast. A little Oheka Castle ISM executive networking plug. So, squid fishing. So I get down to the marina this morning, and I'm taking some stuff out of, like I said, me and Kory are organizing everything that's on the boat. So I'm taking any of the fishing gear and any of the stuff I have in crates and cases, with me to put it in the office, and we're going to go through it all. And the owner of the marina calls me over to his car, and we're talking, and he shows me this really, really awesome light rig that he built and is ready to put on a dock for squid fishing. And, this thing was badass. It was really, really cool. And he wants to take his grandkids and some of the kids squid fishing. So he was going to do that in the harbor next week for Thanksgiving when all the families get together. He figured it would be a great little event to have kids go out and hook into squid until they all get inked up in their Thanksgiving clothes. Better be handing out some Grundens there. And, I thought it was great. So me and Kory love building shit. We love it. So this year, one of the things that we built, we converted first of all, we started with a garbage pail. We wanted to put a live well on the dock that we could throw spot, croakers, some bunker, spearing, whatever it is that we want alive. We wanted it there in the live pen so we don't have to cast net and do any of that stuff before we head it on charter. Just load up the live well and go. And we did. We made an awesome garbage pail. We converted it. And the garbage pail, I thought we were buying a good garbage pail, and we would test it out. Garbage pail didn't work. Garbage pail was a failure. So we stepped it up. I had two 55-gallon drums, big blue heavy-duty plastic, and we converted that into the live pen, and it worked unbelievable. To the point where we were like, yo, you can make these and sell these. That's how good it was, and it kept the fish, it's constant 800 gallons per hour going in. So we put a decent motor in there, in the water, and pumping the water up, and the water just comes right out and goes back down into the harbor. So it was great to have. It was a game changer. It really was. And it worked really, really good. And it was so simple to make that, yes, you could make it out of one of those, a heavy-duty garbage pail. But the 55-gallon drum was way better, way cooler. Kory actually wants to, put plexiglass in there, some Lexan, and put a window on it so you can see what's in there. we thought of ways to light it up and do different things with it and take it to the next level. But we love building and making stuff. So when the owner of the marina showed me the lights that he had built this on this board to put together for the kids to go squid fishing, I was like, that thing's fucking awesome. It really is. That's super cool. I love stuff like that. So we love making stuff. And we will put together a video when we tweak the live pen in the springtime with, we're going to paint it and do some cool stuff to it and make it look really, really cool. This was like our little, little beta test. So this was just our little, beta run and see if this was going to work. And it worked. It kicked ass. It was great and easy to make. So if you guys want to make one, I mean, geez, you can make one out of a cooler. I liked having the depth, so the water, and we kept enough fish in there. There was a time where there was a lot of fish in there. There really was. I mean, you could put a net in there and scoop out. You'd have the net would be loaded, which was really cool to leave with live bait. We love fishing with live bait. Fish with live bunker, live croakers, or like the champ. The champ is here. You hear me talk about them all the time. Now, there were 3 champions. So sometimes you hear me say the champ is here, and I say it was Andrew. And then you hear me say the champ is here, and it was Mike. And then you hear me say the champ is here, and it was Eric. Well, there were 3 champions on the boat. All 3 of them won. Those 3 are champions. And next year, the Bay Rats and Buoys' 2nd annual Striped Bass Invitational is going down. And everybody is going to be gunning for Andrew, Mike, and Eric, the winners of this year's tournament. And Matt, J&M Seafood, he was in 2nd place. And Chuck, you missed him by that much, and you were right behind him. You probably have sleepless nights knowing that Matt beat you by that much. But thanks to those amazing rulers that we got for the tournament, it was a definitive winner. There was no questions. Even Chuck said, I am 3rd place. So I was happy that the photographs and all worked out well, because the first few pictures that were coming in for the tournament were definitely not going to work. Now, I showed people how to measure the fish at the meeting. I brought my daughter's stuffed rainbow trout and put it on the tape measure and showed people, here's how you're going to measure the striped bass. Take a photograph of it to submit it. Because it was a tag and release tournament. We tagged 65 striped bass for our first annual Striped Bass Invitational. It was awesome. That was so much fun. It really was. And, just talking to Chef Rob about it, he was like, bro, that squall that came through that morning was complete insanity. I go, bro, people left. There were people that straight up got scared on their boats and ran for cover. And he said he had his young son, Gabriel, was driving the boat. He goes, dude, we were out there. It's the summertime, and the squall came through. We were freezing. We were shivering. The kid was driving the boat. He was shivering. I had to give him my jacket or my sweatshirt, whatever. Yeah, he was wearing a sweatshirt. So we still talk about it all the time. I just posted a video of me in the bay yesterday, and Chef Rob said, I missed that view. Walk it back, Johnny. Chef Rob is in the Carolinas right now making New York pizza for the people in the Carolinas. He is crushing it, and super proud of him. And I love when he comes up here, and I will always make time to get him on the boat. I love making time to get Manny on the boat. Manny from the West. Yo, Manny's in the wild, wild West right now. I can't even show you the video he sent me because of the background and what's behind him. And it'll be a dead giveaway, But he's in the wild, wild West fishing right now in the Long Island Sound. So the West is best. And I said I'm going to head out to, South Shore. I'm going to jump on the Laura Lee and get on some bass. But anyway, that's what's happening these days. Everybody's doing maintenance on their boats. Matt, I didn't even go over and look and see if your boat was there. Shame on me. But I was only down there for a short period of time. It was cold. Dude, I got in my truck. It took me halfway to my house to defrost, to feel my hands again. So, and Dean's wife made a comment on Facebook saying, I'm cold just watching this video. And yes, Danielle, it was cold. Even though it was 47 degrees, the feel like was not 47 out there yesterday. We didn't see any seals. I told Kory when we were out there yesterday, whichever is the last of the survivors of the commercial towboat that stays in the water, I will head out and see if I can fly the drone over the seals and show you guys where they hang out in our area, because there's a ton of seals that come into the Northport, Huntington area. And speaking of the commercial towboat, I was at the gym last week, and I'm on the treadmill. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. And, thank God for the watch. I love the watch. And obviously I wear it going to the gym so it knows I'm still actually active and it doesn't tell me time to stand. I like to do the treadmill for like a half an hour before I go and work out. And I get a call from a good buddy who's on somebody's Downeaster, very expensive fishing boat, a little over $500,000. They were heading to Connecticut to go blackfishing, and they had engine failure, and the engine failed. So this happens often, and this is a good scenario to just put out there, and I'll tell you how sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I get the phone call. I'm on the treadmill. I do not have my phone with me in the gym, but I got my watch. So I saw the call and didn't take the call. Goes to voicemail. And then I see the text message, which obviously that's the best way to ask for help, is shoot somebody a text message, because they're probably going to see that message before they listen to the voicemail. Now, the voicemails these days are transcribed, so you just open up the voicemail, you see it, and it tells you what you're reading it. And the message was, I'm trying to get in touch with you. We have an on-the-water emergency. I call him back from the watch. Now I'm on the treadmill. I stop the treadmill, and I'm dealing with somebody's on-the-water emergency in November, 8 o'clock in the morning. And I was not the captain on call, so I was not the one responding to, so I told him what steps to take. I reached out to the captain on call and let them know. And it turns out they were trying to call the other tow company. That tow company didn't answer the phone, and that's why I was getting the message that, hey, I'm on the water, and he was on somebody else's boat and needed help. And I got them help. And there are times where, even during the summer, a friend of somebody was stuck on the water, and they said, hey, we'll call this number, call Gaige. They called, they got voicemail. I didn't get the call till I want to say like an hour or so later, and shot them a message saying, hey, got your message. And they had broken down on the water. So here's my advice to you guys. There are times where that works. There was a 50-foot galleon coming in around the lighthouse in Huntington, and someone cut him off, and he had to throw the boat in reverse. And he sucked up the no-wake zone chain. So good, he sucked it up so good that his props, Bink, he had the chain link right in between the prop. It was almost nearly impossible, even for the diver, to get it out. But he did. I was a few hundred yards away on the towboat, and my personal cell phone is going off. And I answer the call, and she tells me who she is. I knew who it was, and I shot over there, and, me and the harbor master, we started the whole process. So sometimes timing is everything, and timing works. Other times, you guys have to understand that, A, I'm not available 24/7. You may not get me on the phone. 1. 2, if you are on the water and you need some sort of assistance and you're having an emergency, you need to know the proper steps to take to get that rectified as fast and in a timely fashion, as fast as possible, right? So in a few of the episodes when I described that the water temperature right now is fatal, you do not want to fall in the water this time of the year. You will not have 15 minutes to, swim and do what you got to do. You got to get out of the water, and you're going to most likely suffer from some sort of hypothermia or shock from going into the 43-degree water. So it could be dangerous this time of the year. In the summertime, it's not so dangerous when you break down, or you may have to jump in the water and do something on the boat. So I always recommend a few things. And in that episode, I told you, VHF radio, channel 16. You want to put out a mayday call if there's something serious happening. I've seen medical emergencies out there. I've seen boats on fire. I've seen boats sinking. I've seen boats hit things, taken on water. I see boats sitting on rocks. I see boats everywhere. I see boats. So you get on 15. You get on 16. And I also told you guys that you should download the Coast Guard app. Okay? Now, the Coast Guard app, you open it up, and right there, that red bar, and I'll put it on the screen here. I'll put it right up here. So you can see that emergency assistance. You click that, and it says call U.S. Coast Guard or call 911. Now, they're going to know how to route your call to get you into the right municipality to help you, because this time of the year, everybody's not out there patrolling around. So you go out this time of the year, you may have to wait a little bit longer. There's going to be a longer response time. There may be no response time. It may be really fast. The boat could be coming back. The Coast Guard boat could be coming back from handling another situation, and it just happens to be that you're on the way, and they're 2 minutes away from you. So Coast Guard app, call U.S. Coast Guard, call 911, and the VHF radio, channel 16. You put out a distress call. Channel 16 is for hailing and distress only. Meanwhile, you hear people do radio checks on it all season long, which is super annoying, and there's nothing we can do about it. We just can't get the message into every boater's ear. They're not going to hear it. They're not listening, and they're going to continue to do. A lot of people turn on the radio, turn on the boat, and the radio is set on channel 16. I have 2 radios, and they're monitoring multiple channels each, so that when somebody talks on a certain channel, you'll hear it. So sometimes people do a radio check and think they're on channel 9, for example, but the radio's on channel 16. So if you need to get in touch with somebody with a broken down boat or any kind of a distress or emergency on the water, make sure that you know how to handle that on the VHF radio. You can't be afraid to pick up the radio and do a mayday call or a distress call. Reach out to a harbor master, reach out to the police, reach out to the fire department. If your boat's on fire, get off the boat. Put your life jackets on and get off the boat. If your boat's not on fire, call for help and stick around, and don't go in the water this time of the year. That's my advice to you. So, I'm always happy to help. I love the busy season from May until end of October. That's like the prime season for us, even though it goes from April 15th until November 15th. Season's over for me now. I'm done. My boat's out. I'm working on it every day and happy to do so. Who else? Who else we got to shout out and mention in the podcast this week. We gave everybody over at J&M Seafood, some love. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Rob over at High Hook, Mike over at Compass Rose, Dan over at Gold Coast Deli. I'm going to miss seeing you guys every morning. And, there's a whole plethora of people. And I always, even if I'm leaving people out, I'll say it in the big group. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Wishing you guys the best of holiday seasons. If you want to get out there and catch some fish with me and Kory, let us know. We'll be happy to get you out with us on Kennequot River. If you want to go catch striped bass with me on the South Shore when I jump on the Laura Lee, I'll let you know when I'm going. Next week, I'll try to get the podcast up on Wednesday because Thursday's Thanksgiving. And what else? That's it. If you do go out of the water, stay safe. If you go out of the water this time of the year and you break down, make sure you know who to call. And it's not Ghostbusters. But this is episode 58 from the studio. Make sure you share it with your friends. Thank you to everybody that listens to the audio version. If you do listen to the audio version, there's a video version of this with me sitting in my studio telling you about all the fun stuff that goes on out on the water. And if you're going squid fishing, make sure you got your Grundens on. And if you're going striped bass fishing, make sure you got your NLBNs. And if you're going tog fishing, make sure you got your 3/4 ounce jig. Now, Gene's jig is lead gray. It's lead gray, and I have been told for years, for porgy, for tog, these little jigs, you put a little bait on them, drop them down, and you're going to hook into fish, and they work like gold. So if you beat all the paint off of your tog jig, continue to use it. It's still going to work for you. Trust me. Gene will tell you. He holds it up in his hand. It's just a little lead weight. That's all it is. Holding the crab. And he had a nice 8-pounder. He'll be on the thumbnail. If he says okay, he'll be on the thumbnail this week with a picture of him and his son. I told you that picture. I put it up last week. That was absolutely awesome. I love how his son was all dressed up. I did that with my kids early on for fishing. So enjoy it, Gene. And there's no better time than to teach them when they're young. Get them addicted to fishing. It's a great thing. It really is. Boating, too. So, happy holidays, everybody. Enjoy Thanksgiving, and we will be back next week. I will put the podcast up on Wednesday. Sorry it's a day late today, but I had to do so much stuff on the boat yesterday. I had no time. I was shot. After I ran around with Kory in his boat and dropping him off to get him to the ramp, and I said, I'm not heading to the studio to rush the podcast. I was exhausted. I had a really long day dealing with shit. I was like, I'll do it on Friday and put it up early. So, sorry that it's late today, guys, but we do appreciate all our loyal listeners. You guys are awesome. And we'll see you next week. Captain Gaige signing off. Over and out.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Bay Rats and Buoys. Be sure to visit sandcitycharter.com and follow Captain Gaige on all our social media channels.